Yeah. Now we've just started the recording, but you haven't missed too much, only my sterilization trick. But if you're wanting to know that, you can ask me later on. So I'm just about to show you how you can access over 70,000 recipes from all around the world and have them on the screen of your Thermomix. So that's through our recipe platform called CookieDoo. And on your TM6, you can find those recipes just by simply swiping towards the speed selector. You can type in either an ingredient that you're wanting to use up, or you can type in the actual recipe. So if I just start typing red onion chutney, there we go, caramelized red onion chutney, that pops up. There may be quite a few of them, and the reason for that is because I've got my filters set for searching for all the English recipes. So I'm just going to click on the first one that comes up. Hopefully that is yes, it's in grams. If you find that it's in ounces, it will be likely from the US. So you can scroll down on your screen and check out all the ingredients that you'll need, any tips and tricks just on the lower down, and you've got your nutritional information there too. Then I simply go start cooking, and it's going to tell me step by step on the screen of the Thermomix what I need to do, which makes it very easy and super quick, especially when you're trying to pump out a whole lot of stuff, because it all weighs for you straight into the bowl. So I'm going to put 25 grams of olive oil in there and click next, and that will tell you what my next ingredient is. I actually haven't weighed these, so I hope that's about right. Might need some more. Oh, that's pretty close. So now I'm going to put the splash guard on. So that's new for the TM6, and that's what we're going to use for our high heat function. Let me just grab that for me. 1 second. Here we go. So this is what we use for our caramelization or our high heat. And you would have seen it actually said to put the splash guard on. So that just sits on the top there. And then I simply say I've done that. And then it activates, to activate that high heat function, all you have to do is turn the speed selector once. And then now you're going to hear, I'm not sure how good my speaker is on my headset, but very shortly you'll hear that the blades actually stop spinning. And that's to allow that heat to come off the element and really start bubbling away, heating up that oil. And then in a second, I can now hear the sizzle of the oil, which is really going to brown and caramelize my onions, which is just a game changer for Thermomix. The previous models only went up to 100 or 120 degrees. Now we're hitting 160 degrees on that high heat. So think of the recipes that you love doing, that really you really love that flavor that is enhanced by using a high heat. So browning your onions before making a dish, or your garlic, or browning your meat, so your mince and your chicken as well, and the flavor that gets enhanced from that is just delicious. So I'm going to head over. Now you'll hear every now and then the blades do spin, just to stir, but then they stop. Can you hear the sizzle? I'll stop talking. Maybe if I'll go really close. Can you hear it?
I can't hear a thing, I'm just going to say.
Okay.
It could be my speaker. I think the Zoom mutes it out a little bit, so you don't quite catch that sizzle.
So that's going to cook now for 20 minutes. So I'm going to head over to leave you over to the other lovely ladies, who's going to teach you a few more things, and we'll come back for the next step.
Hello. Can you hear me? Am I not on mute? There we go. So my name is Rebecca Hayward. I am another team leader in Perth. And right now I'm going to show you how to make 3 things within a couple of minutes. So So making butter is something that I, when I first got my TM31 11 years ago now, I didn't do straight away. But then when you work out how easy it is and how much you'll save, it is worth doing. So I'm going to do this manually. There is a recipe on the Thermomix on Cookadoo that you can use. However, I'm just going to use my ears to work out when it's done. So your cream, the best cream that you can get is like a whipping cream. And if you can get one that's older, so if something's got, you know, the quick sale sticker on it, they're the best ones to use because they will whip the fastest and make your butter the quickest. All right, so can you see the Thermomix here? Oops.
Interesting. To make
There we go.
a lot cheaper and you buy cream that's
all right, so I'm going to pour the cream into the Thermomix. So this is 600 mils of whipping cream. Just tip it all in. Now you can change this to make it a herb butter or a cinnamon butter by milling your sugar or your herbs before you get started and then transferring them into another bowl. So I've just put in my my butterfly, so that's what we're going to use to whip it. And to put that in, I just go to the left of the high blades and give it a wriggle. And then pop the lid on. Now you'll want the measuring cup in because you don't want it to go everywhere. So you can see the screen here. Hold on. I'll see whether you can see the screen a bit better. All right, so on the screen here, we've got the time, the temperature and the speed. So we're not going to do anything with the time or the temperature. I'm just going to click on the speed. And with the butterfly in, it's maximum 4 at like 4 is the maximum speed. So we're going to go all the way up to speed 4. And I'm going to use my ears to decide when the whipped cream is done. So just one moment. So you just listen out. You guys probably can't hear it, but I'm going to keep an ear out. And we'll be done in a second. And I usually have a little peek as well.
So it's a bit muffled with Beck at the moment. So I'm just going to talk you through what Beck's doing. Hopefully that helps a little. So the movement from cream to starting to make butter is a very quick one. So you have to, it's definitely not something you set and forget. So see how quick that was? Now the fresher your cream is, done. Yeah. And the fresher the cream that you're starting with, the longer it'll take to get to butter. But if you've got something that's on sale, be aware it will turn to that kind of thick consistency very quickly.
I've just taken some out so I can have some with some strawberries and cream later.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I'm going to continue to whip.
No worries. Zoom's muting you out while you talk, so I'll just explain what you're doing while you go.
Oh, thank you.
So you're going to see as this starts to turn to butter, one of the things that you're looking out for, you might hear it. It'll be like a knocking sound, or you may even see your Thermomix starting to shake. So I'm not sure if you can pick it up on the screen and we can see it starting to shake already. And what will happen is the cream will separate from the liquid. So you'll actually see liquid floating around above it. So Beck's going to show you now. Look how quick that was. So your cream must have been near its due date, Beck.
It was 2nd of December was the use by date. And yeah,
wow.
Super quick. Well done. Now I'll just change it so that you can see over here. Now I'm going to use my basket now and pop it in my thermoserver, or you could use a bowl. And I'm going to filter out the buttermilk. So the buttermilk, you can freeze that, or you can put it, in ice cube things, or you can just use it straight away to make yourself some nice scones or something. But that is your butter, and there is your buttermilk. So the next step, I'll just get it all out of the butterfly. Now the next step is that we need to rinse the butter. So I'm going to tip the butter back into the bowl. Hold on, I'll move it so you can see the bowl again. I'm going to tip it back in. I'll just rinse the lid, hold on. The lid back on. And then the trick here is to use really cold water. So I'm just going to grab a bottle of cold water.
You don't want to melt that butter by putting it warm water in there now?
No, not room temperature, not warm. So I'll turn you back on here. And then I'll just use my eye. I usually just, it's about 500 grams of water that you pop in there. And then back on speed 4 just for a few seconds.
So if you were going to use your butter straight away, you wouldn't need to do this rinse. Really, that's just getting rid of that liquid, which is what's going to expire sooner.
Yes, it'll make your butter last for longer.
Yeah,
now,
the better you wash it.
This liquid is getting all of that excess buttermilk out, because you don't want your butter to go off on the 2nd of December, which is when the milk was going to go off. Oh, sorry, the cream. And I'm just going to use this and tip it out over the sink.
Justin, don't answer it. Oh, Justin, that's why.
And then the rest of it, where's my spatula? The rest of it I store into my little, I've got this, butter bell. So in this, I squeeze all the butter into one of these. Now, I love these butter bells because it means that you can keep your butter on the bench. You just add a little bit of water to the bottom of the butter bell. Say that 10 times fast. Add a little bit of water to the butter bell and you change it every couple of days to keep it fresh, but that keeps out the ants and it keeps your butter fresh. And it means that your butter can be nice and spreadable for the life of the butter too. So it just goes in like that and it's ready to use whenever you need your butter.
Awesome.
That's it.
How good
so
is
we've
that?
got whipped cream, buttermilk and butter all done. Is there a question? Yes, you can add salt. You can also add in a little bit of olive oil if you want to make it a little bit more spreadable as well from the fridge. And you can also add your herbs and all of that sort of stuff as well.
So you would do that at this stage if you're going to add your flavorings.
Yes.
So once you've got your clean bowl, pop your butter back in. Well, you wouldn't need to clean it. Just make sure there's none of that liquid left. Pop your butter in and you flavour it now based on what you want. So a bit of sugar and cinnamon if you wanted that for your waffles on Christmas Day. Or a bit of salt. You can also whip it as well. So if you do like to serve like whipped butter with your pancakes or anything like that, you can pop that butterfly back in and whip your butter slightly.
And there's quite a lot of butter here too. So it's like you could make some cinnamon butter, you could make some herb butter, some salted, unsalted.
And freeze it. Butter freezes fantastically. Yeah.
So
awesome.
That's it. Thanks, Jenny. We're ready for
no
you
worries.
now.
Oh, that means it's my turn.
It is.
All right, I'm going to swap the play spotlight. Hi, everyone. Okay, so in theory, I would be taking that buttermilk now and using it. And I just want to add the bit that Beck has poured down the sink. You can do that if you are making something. You can always pop that in the fridge if your expiry date lets you, and use that whenever like a bread or a biscuit or anything requires a bit of water added. And that just adds to, I guess, the luxness of the taste. So I'm going to make the cherry brioche wreath, and you can do this with the buttermilk. But we're definitely using butter in this one. One of my favourite things about the spiced cherry brioche wreath is it's a really nice bring a plate kind of thing. So if someone asks you to bring something along, or if you're like me and you don't like to rock up without something in your hands, this is quite an impressive thing and relatively easy to make as well. With the TM6, one of the points of difference, if we've got anybody here who has upgraded to their TM6 or is thinking about it, one of the amazing things is just how intuitive that screen is. And I'm just going to make sure I can move it so you guys can at least get a little bit of a glimpse on what I'm talking about. It's something that you can actually scroll down and see the ingredients and prep. So that's exactly what I did earlier. I grabbed some of the ingredients and I pre-weighed it because it's sort of how I cook anyway. I like to have it all set out for me. So you can go through and see that. And if you need to skip ahead, you can do that. So the very first step is line a large baking tray or oven tray. So I'm actually going to use the oven mat. That is one of our host rewards, but I find it's absolutely fantastic when you're doing work with dough and you want to be able to bake straight on the surface that you're doing it. So I can skip that one and I'm going to go straight to number 2. So these are live steps. And the first thing is to get sugar. So I've got 40 grams of sugar. Should I take my lid off? I think that's a good start. All right, so I've got 40 grams of white sugar. We need 330 grams of full cream milk. So you can use your buttermilk if you want. So pop this in here. So using the Thermomix weighing is much like reversing your car. We have to turn the radio down. I can't talk and weigh at the same time, believe it or not. All right. Next, we want some yeast. And you can use fresh yeast, which you can buy at your supermarket, or you can use dry yeast. So I'm going to use dry yeast today, and I do keep it in my fridge. Let's grab that. Didn't think ahead. So I grab this yeast, I keep it in my fridge, it keeps your yeast fresher for longer. If you ever find that your breads or cakes aren't, the results not coming out too well, check your yeast and whether that is still going strong. So the weight is quite different from fresh. You would use 30 grams and it's between about 11 and 15 if it's the dry yeast. So we're going to pop that measuring lid in and go for 2 minutes. That's going to activate the yeast. Then we are going to move to the next step straight afterwards. So I'm just going to check and make sure there's nothing in the chat box there. So what we can do with the Team 6 is we can preview what's coming up next. So it's going to ask me for unsalted butter. So if you've just made your butter, you could chuck that in. And one of the big things between your salted and unsalted is the recipe is balanced based on what we use. So if you use salted butter, you might want to peel back a little bit on the amount of salt that you add when it comes to adding that. For me, I'm pro salt for everything, but this is one thing that you do want to just make sure if something's not quite right, you can see the next step, sea salt. So this is unsalted butter, so I will still add the full amount. And then it adds the baker's flour, which I'll get ready. And that's when we're going to need it. So just going to go back, we've got a minute, and in that time I'm going to show you the ingredients that I have ready. So I have my butter, I'm going to grab my salt, which I keep in a nice big container because I use a lot of it. And speaking of big containers, I don't know how everybody stores your flour, ladies, that's mine. I use that much baking flour that I actually use one of these big tubs and it fits the big bags of baking flour. This is a great cost effective.
I win.
What do you do?
My box is bigger than your box.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to see it now. Is yours too, Rebecca?
I don't use much
you don't
flour.
really
You
cook,
know
you don't
that?
use flour.
No.
Can you see mine?
No.
How big is that? Is that
It's
a massive?
huge. It's really, really big.
Oh,
Wow.
that's like a Bunnings bucket.
There,
Yeah.
it does. It looks like something I think my husband washes the car with. All right. So next, it's asking you to mix down the sides, and that's really just in case your yeast has gone to the edge. But I like to call myself a lazy cook. So if I can skip anything in there, I totally will, as long as it's not going to affect the outcome. So I've got my butter, soft actually. So when it's important that it's soft when you're adding it, it will tell you that. In this case, it's not overly important. Teaspoon of sea salt. I'm using a normal teaspoon today. I've got these amazing spoons that I normally use. All right, and here we go. Here's our baker's flour. Full disclosure, this is usually the kids' job. Adding the flour. And again, I go quiet while I wait.
Not that it was a competition about who had the biggest box
Yeah,
of
sure.
flour.
It's always a competition. I feel like
I'm not
not big
competitive
enough
at all.
now. Oh, here we go.
I
So
lose.
does
This is mine.
that hold your 5 kilos though?
Oh, is that yours? I kind of
Yeah.
expected you to do this because Rebecca cooks low carb majority of the time, so doesn't actually use it. All right.
I
so we're
bake for
also
the
gonna,
kids occasionally.
yes,
Whoa.
we're going to add an egg in. And I like to keep my eggshells, and when I'm doing a nice wash of my bowl, I usually churn my eggshells up and pop them in the garden. All right, that's going to do a quick mix.
Your bread is exploding over there.
It is. And then that's
Your
going to
dough.
go now for a 3-minute knead. So we might jump onto something else. What have we got next coming up?
I've got 2 minutes, but I can stop it and show you.
Yeah, all right. I'll pop this on and we'll flick over to you while this kneads.
Okay.
I'm ready to do the beetroot salad if you want.
We might still do that last because then
Okay.
that one's a quick one.
Okay.
But hi, it's me. So I've got 1 minute, but it's been going for quite a while, so I'm just going to stop it. So if you do ever want to stop your machine and check how things are looking, then all you have to do is simply push the speed selector and that will stop your machine. What I like to do is just tip it up that way, and that lets the steam escape out the back and not on your fingers. And then I shall show you. Oh my goodness me. Yum. The smell in my house is like next level. So those are beautifully browned red onions, ready to be, oh my goodness me, so wonderfully caramelized. So now I'm just going to go on to the next step, which is adding that flavor. So we're going to add 200 grams of brown sugar. Now you can adjust the taste. It is quite sweet. And I haven't measured this, so I might use a spoon rather than tipping it all in. That's 100. Yeah, you can adjust the sugar to your taste, but look at that. I'm right on exactly 200. The next step is to add your red wine vinegar. So there's 200 grams of that. So I just tip that straight in. I love that the TM6 weighs in increments of 1. So you can be really, really precise when you're baking. Not so, it doesn't matter so much for this recipe, but great when you're making like something important like macarons or baking, other baking. All right, so that's pretty bang on. Oh my gosh, it's like I practiced. I got 200 exactly again. And then what you want to do is, it's got a hint of spice. So I've just chopped some really fine little bits of chili. There's only a couple of seeds in there, so they're the hot parts of the chili, but I've got half a chili in there. Now it does make quite a bit, so don't be too put off by a chili. Like I personally would have put a whole one in. Then we're going to put half a teaspoon of salt, and that's it. So I think onion, olive oil, brown sugar, red vinegar, and a bit of salt, and that's all that it is to it. And you've got yourself some beautiful chutney. Now it's asking for the varoma to put on the top. I'll put that back. I also threw it on the floor. So that just sits on the top there. And that's just to allow the steam to escape. So you don't want that condensation building up too much. And also that's it just asks you to do that. So it doesn't have to have the lid on. And then you just turn it to speed 0.5, which is just a really gentle stir. And that's going to cook for 25 minutes on varoma temperature, which is our steaming temperature. So I'm going to leave you over to the lovely ladies. Meanwhile, I have some beautiful chutney and cheese because this is my favorite thing to serve it with. And it is just delightful. Such a great gift idea, but also great to have in your fridge, as I mentioned, over Christmas so that you can serve it with your cheese platters.
Perfect to go with a wine, which would also pair
I
really
did have the wine
lovely
too.
this time of year and any time, I think. All right,
Absolutely.
that was timed really well. So
Thanks.
I am just going to, I've got it on the screen so you guys can see what happens. So I have my Thermomat here. These are an absolute godsend for any Thermomix owner, really. But the brioche dough it's a little bit of a wet mixture compared to a lot of your other doughs because you are using an egg in there, quite a bit of milk. You'll find that when you're doing your standard breads, they come out a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a little bit of a wiggle. And then I'm going to show you what I normally do with my brioche just because I'm keeping it real. You'll see that normally when you do a pizza dough, that comes out pretty well because of that. Oh, look at that. It did actually come out pretty well. So careful not to. If it gets stuck though, and you do find that because it's such a heavy, strong dough, I just actually take the base completely off and then I grab it out afterwards, like pull my blade out. But normally just a bit of a wiggle will get the bulk of it out. And so you guys can see on your screen there, how pretty does that look? Looks gorgeous, but you can also see the difference between when your dough has proved and when it hasn't. So I'm going to show you straight away what that difference is. So that's the unproved dough. And have a look at the texture of the proved dough right next to it.
Whoa.
So you can see this one's like a lot more, it's wetter, it's dense. This is a lot softer. Oh, look. There you go. That one's very sticky and solid. So I'm just going to show you how to wrap it. Just the camera off of that. There you go. So I have it as a rectangle. And what you want to do is just make a little bit of a circle. Oh, look at that. It's perfect in the middle of our little target. And you want to go across, and then tuck the ends under. So that actually gives it the space. There you go. For that to come up and rise. And as you can see from one that I prepared earlier, it starts to burst out. You can, I like to do it in the mat because the mat's got fibres in it that are actually going to keep the warmth in. So you'll find in summer, maybe it's easier, but when you're making things in winter, because brioche is stunning in winter as well. And when you're making things in winter, it's really imperative to give it a nice warm surface. So while we're doing this though, when we do this, the next step in the recipe is to pop it aside and let it prove. It does say to clean and dry your mixing bowl, but if you guys have just purchased, who's got a second bowl and blade set already? Pop it in the chat for me. But if you've got a second bowl and blade set, this is when you would swap it in. And we're going to swap that over, and I'm just going to talk you through what the next ingredients are. So it's 130 grams of white sugar. Oh, good job. And then we've got some ground nutmeg. These are my spice containers. They're baby food containers. So bad. All right, so I'm just going to quickly weigh this in. Get the right one. So we want some ground nutmeg. 2, 3, and this spice mix smells incredible. We're also going to add in some cardamom. Now, if you only have the pods, you can mill those in your Thermomix. Oh no, that's fine. That one's fine. You could read how much it actually tells. All right, 2 cinnamon quills. So I have my cinnamon quills there. I'm going to chuck 2 in there. Star anise. These are the prettiest spice, and they're stunning to decorate with at Christmas time as well. Look at that. I'm going to chuck 2 in there. 3 whole cloves. Show you guys there. It's a whole clove. And then we're going to pop the measuring cup into the mixing bowl. Now you always want a really dry mixing bowl whenever you're milling any spices. And obviously it's all preset for us on the 6.
We can't see the smoke on the camera.
It smells
but
amazing.
It does look...
The smoke for me is a bit. Oh, there you go. Did you get a bit of a waft? There we go. So what you want to do with this one is actually pop some aside. So it says to keep, let's read that in 3 tablespoons. I'm going to do my own guesstimation. There we go. Next. All right, so next what we want to do is actually start getting our dough ready. So I'm going to show you guys now what that beautiful dough looks like. So as I said before, it's quite different in texture. It's got a really beautiful stretch to it. We're going to separate this into 2 sections, and probably the easiest way to do this at the moment is I'm going to make 1 large rectangle, and then I'm going to use my spatula, TM6 spatula, just to cut it down the middle. Actually, I may grab my bowl scraper for that. While I'm doing this, I am going to just talk you through some of the things. This is the French style rolling pin. These are incredible. They're really quite heavy, but they're amazing when you're rolling out doughs and pastas because they're quite, or any of your breads, they're really quite big. I don't know if you guys can see that. Oh, you've got quite a few that have got second bowls, which is awesome. Okay. All right, now I want to make these small and quite, I'm trying to think of another way of putting it. I want to make small little fat wreaths, if that makes sense, as opposed to a really big one. And I'll tell you my reason for it. Just because I've only got a standard oven. If you had a really nice big oven, then you can actually stretch these right out and they'll still get a beautiful rise on them. But this dough is quite a heavy dough. So we've got a fair bit to work with there. So what we're going to do is we're going to split it in half and we're going to create 2 cylinders with this. Once you've done it for this particular recipe, you can see that it actually is something that lends itself, a technique that lends itself to others. Really quite beautiful. I'm just going to grab my bowl scraper because I think it might do a better job. Oh, no, that's doing all right. So you can get a bowl scraper on the mix shop as well, and they're pretty fantastic, especially if you're into sourdough or you do a lot of breads. So what we want to do is basically pop our fillings in the middle, and then we're going to make 2 sort of sausage rolls, giant sausage rolls, and then we're going to braid them together to make our wreath. So in the recipe, it does give you a picture and a really great breakdown of what that looks like. I'm just going to show you now. See what our aim is there? Does that come through on screen?
Yeah, just.
All right, so we want to just pop it all in the middle there. I'll just try and make sure that you guys can actually see what I'm doing in the meantime. There you go. All right, so you want to divide what we've got going in here. So we have 100 grams of dried cranberries, fresh cherries, flaked almonds, and basically what we're going to do is stir them all in and weigh them into the bowl. But I am actually just going to, I've already weighed them out. I'm actually just going to pop these in the whole way through. Yeah, 80 grams of flaked almonds. Okay, so I'm going to go through, I've got cranberries, or craisins, they were on the packet. And you just want to leave a few aside to decorate it at the end. And then I have, so when cherries are in season, absolutely use cherries. I didn't have any at my local shop. So I actually got the dried pitted Morello cherries. That's the one I got. And I've just used my simmering basket to drain those out. So we're going to chuck some of these guys on here, along the centre. And if you've got any questions, guys, feel free to ask. Just going to sit and arrange these. Actually, Beck, while I'm arranging and filling them up, making the 2 cylinders, did you want to make your salad?
Yeah.
I might start my custard
Oh, there we go.
Custard to go. There we go.
because that takes a little bit longer. Sorry, Beck.
That's okay. Push in. That's fine.
Yeah. You can just wait for me. All right. So I've got one more thing to make. I'm actually a little bit excited about this because I'm making, instead of normal custard, I'm making brandy custard. And the exciting thing is that the recipe itself, let me grab it. So I've just searched it on Cookie Doo on the app on my phone. It's a bit dirty. So I have, if I go to, I'm using the TM6 version. So if I click on the picture there, I'll scroll down and it actually tells me that it serves 630 grams, but I'm going to be the only one eating this tonight. So I'm going to change that because I don't think I can eat 630 grams. So if I click on the serving size, I can then select what serving size I'd like. So I can go smaller or bigger. And then all I did was I went cook today, and that sends it then to my Thermomix. So I went on to my my week. Does everybody know this is a new function? So it's pretty exciting. Did everybody know you could scale? Thanks, Michaela. There's like an echo in the room. So I scroll down and then I go brandy custard, and it will have adjusted. Good night, darling. I'll see you in a minute. It's
Good night,
actually
Michaela.
adjusted my serving size to 350. Now, if I hadn't pre-done that, I can actually click on the screen of the Thermomix and do that as well. So, but it did actually save the adjusted. Good night, darling. I'll see you soon. Oh, everybody, good night. They all said good night. So it's, adjusted the ingredients down to that smaller amount. And then I just have to go start cooking. So again, Jenny's already talked about milling with her spices, but I'm just putting in a little bit of sugar here. Again, sugar is to taste. Now this is raw sugar. So if you're buying multiple types of sugar, all you need to do is buy your raw sugar. And this is just to taste. So if you don't like it too sweet, you can reduce the sugar. I'm putting it in a dry bowl with a dry lid because that does make the milling process a lot better and finer. So just for about 10 to 15 seconds is all you need to mill that down. If you wanted it as pasta sugar, you can do that for less time on a lower speed. But what we're getting here is essentially a really fine sugar that's similar to icing sugar. So what other things can you use that process for? Oh my goodness, look, I've got the dust now too. So that is made a really fine sugar from a raw sugar. So the other things that you could be milling, today I made a beautiful red and green shortbread, and I milled down some rice to make a rice flour. So you could also be doing your almonds to almond meal. And I'd love to know what other things you guys mill in your Thermomix. So
Buckwheat.
Buckwheat, to make a buckwheat flour, or you can make a with other grains. We're using
rice for rice flour.
Yes, and that's what I did today, which was super cool.
Oh, sorry, wasn't listening.
No, can you pay attention?
You know what?
So
I
now
had
we're
to use
just
chickpea flour for something, and I used dry chickpeas. And I tell you
Perfect.
what,
Oh my
so
Lord, I
much-
got it bang on again. I'm just like the master. Like I practiced this.
if you do
Right,
say
so I
so
put in
yourself.
I put in some whipping cream, and then I've got a little bit of milk. So that cream, I don't normally put cream in my custard. I normally just put just milk, but oh my gosh, I did it 4 times in a row.
What? You need to buy a lotto ticket.
We can't actually see, so we have to take your word for it.
You know what?
okay,
It would be
that's
hilarious if we
insane.
found out later that none of them were wrong. None of them were right.
None of them. All right. So the cream makes it just like really a lot more I don't know, creamier. But, you know, like, yeah, just smoother and yeah, a bit naughtier. Yeah, decadent. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm now breaking an egg.
There we
I
go.
like to-
Liz is on it too.
Oh, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. I just couldn't come out of my mouth. So I've broken the egg just to check that it's a good egg into my measuring cup, because that's something I'm going to be cleaning anyway. So 1 egg. The second little tip I've got for you is I now need an egg yolk. So I'm going to be actually breaking that on the top of my lid, and you'll notice that there's a little gap in between your lid and your measuring cup. So the egg white is going to drip down into my bowl here, and I'm going to collect the egg yolk on the top of my lid. Well, that's the plan anyway, as long as I don't break my egg yolk. I'll just wiggle that round so that the egg white dribbles in. And that's a safer way to do it so that you're not getting any egg white in. Not that it would matter for this part, but it's really good for if you're making pavlova. So now I've got my egg yolk just sitting on here, which I can now tip in there. Did everybody know that trick? Do you love it? And I've collected my egg white in there. Now I add my brandy. This one, has everybody made custard before? My mum used to make me custard when I was a little girl, and she'd add custard powder, and I don't even know what she'd stand there on the stove. My goodness, those days are gone, standing on the stove. The Thermomix just makes it so easy to make things like custard. And this is the second time tonight that I've used this mode. This is the thickening mode with the TM6, so one of the modes that are incorporated into a recipe. And all we have to do is just turn that speed selector. And thank you, darling, I'm just cooking. Okay, will you look after her, love? So all you have to do is turn that speed selector, and that will activate that thickening mode. So the thing that I made earlier today was bechamel sauce for the kids, for some macaroni cheese. And that does exactly the same as as what we're doing now with the custard. Thank you, my darling. I'm glad that you liked it. And what it does is you don't have to set a time. The machine actually will determine once the contents is thickened, and it will just stop the machine. So it's really, really intuitive and very clever. So I love that thickening mode. Other things that you could be using that for: gravies, the bechamel sauce, any fancy sauces like your hollandaise, or anything like those beautiful fancy sauces that the chefs use, like the creme anglaise. Lots of options. So that's just going to work its way into that mode. What's that?
It's just going to do its thing.
It's just going to do its thing. Where's my wine gone?
Well, while you do that, I'm going to finish up and show everybody. She's got it right on cue. I'm going to show you guys. I've got 2 long sort of logs. Basically, I just folded it over, and the brioche the dough's quite thick, and it's molded together quite nicely. So then what I've done is I've just sort of gently stretched it out a bit, and you'll see it's a fair bit bigger than the tray that I've popped on top. So I have my oven mat. So this is one, you can get it as a host reward as a bundle. And I've actually got it over my pizza tray because it's a nice round tray. So pretty much all I'm going to do is I'm going to get it started by loosely just getting that sort of circle of where I want it to be started. So I'm going to cross it over. And now this is the fun bit. You literally are just going to cross it. So no fancy braiding going on here. It is just crossing it and doing a slight stretch as you go. Now, I told you guys I wanted sort of a smaller brioche wreath. And what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you can see from there, it's a little bit uneven. So I'm going to pick up this end now and basically just twirl it a little bit to get it to the consistency that I want. And then I'm going to bring it together at the end. And then we just sort of merge that last piece over. I don't know if you guys can actually see it. So I'm just trying to see if I can rejig my camera for you. Sorry. Stay put. No. Here you go, spatula to the rescue. All right, so what I'm doing now is just trying to get that little circle happening. Spatula not to the rescue. There we go. So
Keep it real, Jenny, keep it real.
So there you go. I have actually just gone around, twisted it a few more times, and now I'm just stretching it out into the shape that I want. I'm just going to fix this little end bit so it looks more like it was twisted in and you can't really see the start and the end. That is pretty easy, right? There you go. So now what we would do is we basically just pop our decorations on top. So what you would do is that stuff that we've reserved, we would sprinkle some over top of it. So keep in mind that's got sugar in it as well. So it's going to add that beautiful layer to it. And that brioche is already really nice and buttery and milky and decadent, Victoria. So we're going
Thank you. I'm not going to forget that word now.
No, we'll teach you all sorts of things on this session tonight. All right, so I'm going to go over now and just add a few more of the cherries on there. And then I'm going to sprinkle a few cranberries and pop it. Oh, no, you know what I want? I love these. I'm going to do these slivered almonds all over it as well. I love these roasted. They come up so beautiful when you bake.
Does everything stick quite well to it, Jenny?
Yeah, it does, because like you've got the sugar as well. So I'm going to pop the cherries on and you'll find that it's not going to be, I mean, as the dough moves, it's going to move it around a bit on the dough anyway. But you'll also find that they generally stay fairly well in place. But I'll be sure to give Victoria a photo so you guys can see that finished product when you send out the recipes with the email as well. But I've actually done this a few times now, usually at Christmas time, what a surprise, for cooking classes in particular. And there's so many really beautiful variations that you can do. This is, if you're not into, like my family's not big on cherries, it's really nice with chocolate. You can do the exact same brioche wreath, but maybe do it with a Nutella, an almond filling, or, you know, you can play around with it. All right, have we got any questions or anything like that? No? I'm just going to sit here and pop more in, and then I'm going to pop that into an oven 180 and let it bake. Who's up next? Have we finally ready to make a salad?
Oh, well, actually, I'll just show you one more. No,
I want to
You live close enough for her to make you wear that salad soon.
go and do your salad then.
Thank you. All right, so this one I am going to follow a recipe. So this is the beetroot salad. Now, the reason I like to follow a recipe for this one, even though it's super, super simple, is just because I always tend to overblend it if I don't use the recipe. So I did the same as Victoria, and I found it under my week, which I had already set up on my phone earlier. So I'm going to follow step by step. So it's asked for 400 grams of beetroot cut into quarters. So a general rule is that it needs to be able to fit through the hole in the lid, which that one, there we go, it fit. So I'm going to pop all those in there. And I think this is a little bit over 400 grams, but I wasn't going to save a slither of beetroot. And then 100 grams of carrot cut into pieces. So again, quite chunky. You don't have to make it in coins or anything. 20 grams of onion. I hate raw onion and the kids won't eat it if I put the onion in there either. So I'm going to leave that out. 1 green apple cut into quarters. Oh my goodness. There we go. And then 2 to 3 sprigs of fresh coriander. I love coriander. You can leave it out if you are not a fan. All right. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now, of course, you can use a tablespoon for that, or you can just guesstimate. And then 10 to 20 grams of lemon juice. So I've already cut my lemon in half. And then I like to use the spatula to help me do that. Now, another trick is that you can put your lid into the bowl so that it catches any seeds that might come out. So I'm just going to stick my spatula into the lemon like this and then use that to help me squeeze it. Just got to keep an eye on the grams. I forgot to tear it, so I'm estimating. There we go. So 10 to 20 grams of lemon juice. 1 teaspoon of salt. Oh, sorry, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There was no seeds in that lemon. That was good. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And a pinch of pepper. And a pinch of sugar. I choose not to put sugar in because the apple will make it sweet enough for us. We don't normally put sugar in. And then we're going to put the lid in. Now, it's turning up to speed 5. Now, when you're using the guided cooking, it won't go past speed 5 if you give it a big turn. So 5 seconds and it's ready to serve. So you've got yourself a salad there. Now I'm going to pimp that salad. So I've got over here my thermo server. This one you can get, it's a limited edition Host Reward at the moment. So I've got some spinach leaves in there. You could use it like a Michelin mix or something like that. And just pour it on over like that. And then you could add, so you can eat it on its own if you want to, but you could add some feta, crumble some feta over the top, and some nuts or seeds. And how Christmassy does that look?
It's beautiful.
So beautiful. It's a really super quick Christmas salad. What don't you like? Lots of
I
things.
don't even like beetroot, but I love that salad.
How can you not like beetroot?
I know, but it's so good.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Rebecca.
you. Have I missed anything?
No, that was beautiful. You could also put cranberries too, if you wanted it a little bit sweeter.
Yes.
And that's Christmassy.
That is Christmassy.
Yeah. I have my custard is ready.
Beautiful. You can unpin me then, Jen.
That's Jenny.
I think Jenny's.
Oh, there's me. I'm back again. Okay,
are.
I'll be really quick. We're wrapping up now. So as well as my custard being ready, my onions are also ready. So while they're nice and hot and beautiful, I am actually going to pour them into my sterilized jar. Hang on, I can't see. Can you guys see that? Because you're all there. Okay, so I'm putting my lid, because I'm really messy, putting my Thermomix lid over the top of my jar, and then I'm going to just tip in some of my onion like that. And whoopsie, see, I told you I was messy. And there's our beautiful chutney ready for its new home this Christmas. And that makes quite a lot. So I've got enough for at least another jar. And then my custard. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, all my family has gone to bed, so I'm going to be having that myself. So different flavors of custard. I've made the brandy custard, obviously, for Christmas. But if you're wanting to make a different flavor, there is just a standard custard recipe on Cookie Do. And you can then choose to adapt that to suit your taste. So maybe you want to turn it into a chocolate custard, and you can either mill, when you're milling your sugar, you could also mill down some chocolate and have some beautiful melted chocolate in there. Or you could just add cacao powder. The recipe is using a lemon peel to have it flavored with lemon, but you can use that, leave that out and make it vanilla with some vanilla paste. So lots of different options for your custard. And such a Christmassy thing to have is custard. Look at that, how beautiful is that? If you're wanting to have thicker custard, then, I mean, it will thicken up as I cool it down, because it's literally just finished. But if you do want thick custard, then you can just add that thickening agent. So either another egg, or if you're using the original custard recipe, a little bit more corn flour, or you can use actually normal flour instead of corn flour. So lots of options there. So that concludes our cooking component of the class. Jenny may have some final words just to share with you. But I hope that you guys have picked up on heaps and heaps of tips today, and you've been inspired just to use your Thermomix that little bit extra over Christmas to help you in the kitchen. I'd love to know what your favorite tip was.
Yeah, thanks, Vic. I'm really keen for you guys to add in, does the onion chutney thicken up as it cools?
Yeah, look at, yes,
Actually,
it does.
It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to, this is my version because it's in, but look, it's, as it cools down, it's like thick as anything.
Oh, wow.
And
that's amazing.
That's my, yeah, it's pretty thick. It was just because it's super hot, but it does ask you to transfer it into a jar when it's really hot, because it wants to be sterilized.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I do want to share with you, I'm just looking over because I've got the brioche in the oven now. So that's going to be, that's going to go nice with wine too, I'm sure. Everything goes with wine. So that'll be ready in, it goes in for about 35 minutes. Victoria and Rebecca have shared lots of tips today. So we are hoping that you guys grab something. Feel free, if you haven't yet, to pop it in the chat what's been a highlight for you. And again, if you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in as well. So what I would like to do, though, is there are a few little things that we didn't get around to chatting about today that we do want to let you know. One of them is that we have an Earn 4 offer at the moment, meaning if you don't have your TM6 yet, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to get one, or to get a second one if you want, as you can actually earn a Thermomix with 4 sales. So that's a pretty exciting offer, because it means that you would have picked your Thermomix TM6 up for an absolute steal. So if you want to join our team and learn to do what we do, learn more about food, spend more time, I think, gas bagging with each other. Actually, these ladies did the most incredible Christmas celebration. What did you guys do, Vic?
Oh, for our team meeting, we did painting. I've got it here.
Have you got it nearby?
Yeah.
We did a paint and sip for Christmas. Check out Victoria's handy. That looks seriously impressive.
Oh, thanks.
And Victoria was convinced it was going to be a giraffe by the end of the night, and it wasn't. It's indeed a turtle. So if you are interested in joining our team, please do let us know. But I am also, for anyone who wants to stick around, is keen to learn a little bit more, I was going to do a bit of a walkthrough on Cookie Do to give you guys, I guess, a little bit of a sample of what it is. Cookie Do is something that we can do when you host your own cooking experience. If you want to learn, actively want to learn about something in particular for Cookie Do, we can cater your cooking experience to what you need. So it's a great time when we've got a good offer on the table, such as a bowl and blade set, that even if you've got your own, you may have friends that want to take advantage of the offer, and it can be mutually beneficial for you to be able to get the host reward at the same time. And we do have that beautiful host reward of the black oval thermo server, which is not available for sale, on offer at the moment as host reward. So who wants to know a bit about Cookie Do? We'll just find out if there's anyone here. I've got a few faces on screen. Yeah. All right.
Hey, Jenny.
Yeah.
since there's a lot of TM6 owners on there already, even if they're curious about using their current machine to join our team, they could earn themselves a second bowl.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
even if you're not interested in purchasing a new one, you can actually join the team. And we've got some pretty exciting stuff coming up, including early next year, the cutter coming out. So that's pretty exciting as well. So it's definitely a lucrative time in which to join the team. If you do want any more information, we'd love to help you out. But I'm going to go through, we've got a bit on Cookie Do. So I want to know, for those that have found the chat box, or if you're comfortable coming off mute, what kind of things do you want to know about Cookie Do? Because there's a lot, and I want to cram just as much as I can that's relevant to you in. So I might start, until somebody comments on there, I might just start doing a little bit of a general share. So
the new recipe scaling is an option.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
Or even how to filter permanently so that they can see all the English recipes.
Beautiful. Okay. So Vic, can you keep an eye out on chat for me in the meantime, just because I won't be able to see it while I'm sharing? And can you see my Cookie Do on screen?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I can see your lovely face. So I saw that that was a yes. So you will notice, firstly, when you land on the first screen, if you haven't yet got Cookie Do, by the way, because you don't own a Thermomix yet, you can get a free trial to see whether it's something that you would use or not. And I do encourage you, if you've got your TM6, it's automatically been set up when you first log into your Thermomix, get using it. But by all means, if you have questions, reach out to your consultant, because we want you to get the most out of your Thermomix. And Cookie Do is a massive part of that. So on the first screen, you'll find the basics there, which is you can obviously do a big search for something. We also have a whole bunch of information, including what's currently trending. So you'll see that often it's very in theme with what's going on at the moment. So as we get warmer weather, you can see the chicken Caesar pasta salads being cooked a lot. So this information is actually coming from our region, and on the Australian Cookie Do, these dishes are being selected and added to people's meal plans the most often. There's also a little bit of information. We've got a really fantastic blog that's got lots of information, and you can gather more of that as you go down. We have lots of the collections, and you can get a little bit of a video and tutorial on how to use the Thermomix. So I'm going to go back up to the top. We have my recipes. You can see at the options at the top, you've got Explore, which is this page we're on. My recipes. So if you click on that one, that's going to come up with all of the collections that I have, plus some of my bookmarked. So you can see that I have, let's have a look, festive flavors. I've actually saved the entire book because this is one of my favorite to cook from. I have Asian cuisine. So we used to order a lot of Chinese takeout, and there's different dishes that I've found and made. Now, what I can tell you for how I save it, and everybody will do it differently, as will you, is if I've cooked it, it makes it into one of these dishes, one of these lists. If I haven't cooked it, all the way down to the bottom, these are the things that are on my to try list. And they're kind of my equivalent of ripping a little recipe out of the magazines at the doctor's office, in case anyone else did that ever.
You got to make that chicken galette.
Yeah, there's actually a few things in here. Like I really want to make this chicken pasta salad as well. And there's a few things that I know people are like, oh, we have to try this. So these are spanakopita. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to make spanakopita. And with anyway, I'll get excited about food. That's why we're here, right? So in here, you will find any recipes, and you can actually duplicate them. So if something in family favorites works really well as well in your platter ideas, or, one of your other ones, you can have them so that you've got duplicate recipes in there if you want. And basically you would be able to access this all on screen. In created recipes, you'll find anything that I have made myself that I want on my screen. And this is so intuitive. So let me tell you a little bit about how this works. So you can grab a recipe from the recipe community, or you can start from scratch and create your recipe. and you can actually add it in and add all the steps in. Or you may have a recipe on Cookie Dough that you love, but you do it a little bit differently to how they've listed it, and that's okay too. So what you can see here is some of the different things. So snapper and macadamia nut butter with mash and snow peas. That's a recipe that I made myself, and I used to make this before my Thermomix. It used to make a big mess. Amazing dinner party dish, but it was, I don't know, mashed potatoes never nice to cook for people when your kitchen's where you're eating, because it's messy. Whereas I found once I had a thermoserver, the Thermomix, it was that much cleaner and that much quicker and easier, and it was still served hot. This has been one of my favorite dinner party dishes. And so what I've done is I've actually added and written the recipe in, and step by step, this will pop up on my Thermomix. With each step, it'll give me the instruction, and then you just manually have to adjust the time, temperature, and speed based on what the recipe asks you to do. So it's not quite as, you know, seamless as guided cooking, but it is incredibly, incredibly simple, especially in comparison to reading from a recipe book, or to try and have, you know, your iPad screen or however you're finding your recipes now. So you can pop them on your own directly on your Cookie Dough TM6, which is fantastic. Now I want to show you though, this is an edited one. So I make this mac and cheese for my family all the time, and it freezes really well. But the only thing that doesn't freeze well is that breadcrumb mixture on top. It's amazing fresh, but the next day it kind of, or, you know, if I freeze it, it dries up. Now, I like to do these kind of meals and do batch cooking. That's how I survive being a mum working full time and just life. So I batch cook, and which means it needs to be freezer friendly. So my variation is literally just skipping that breadcrumb step. So the same way that we had those hotkeys in the brioche, I skip the breadcrumbs, and I've created that recipe. I've edited it and had it so that I can find it on my screen in my recipes. To add your recipe, it is as simple as adding a new one in. So if I go to created recipes, you guys might be in my little, there's a little green dot here, and you can either import the recipe direct from Recipe Community, or you could create your recipe from scratch. And it's a step-by-step. It is so easy, but that's something you can chat with your consultant about as well. So the last selection at the top is your week. So what you can do is you can set up your week. You can look at it in a month in view. I'm not good, just full disclosure, I'm not great with a diary because I like to wake up that day and decide what I feel like. But there are this, if you're looking at cost savings, this is a fantastic way to use your Cookie Dough. I tend to just find it when I'm doing shopping. So say I'm going to go to shopping, I will add this to my shopping list. And then I can go through those ingredients. Say, well, I've already got cranberries. I know I've got flaked almonds and icing sugar. And I know I've got white sugar. I've got baker's flour, not as much as Victoria, but I've got some. And I had milk, but I needed butter. And I knew that I needed some more cardamom, but I had all of the other spices. So you can literally go through there and tick it off like you would. Do you know what? I almost always have all of these ingredients just sitting in my cupboard, but you can tick them all off. And then you can actually go through and order your ingredients from Woolworths online, which I believe at the moment, was it Woolworths or Coles? That I think they're down at the moment while they're reconfiguring it.
Yeah, it's just out of action for the minute. But
Out
you
of
can
action
still
for the
do
moment.
Still do it on the app on your phone, and I just go through the aisles of the supermarket.
Okay, beautiful. And for me, I actually prefer just to actually send that list to my husband and say, can you get this on your way home from work? Which is super effective as well, if anyone else likes to do that. So I'm just going to do one more thing. And Vic, I can see there's comments in the box, but I don't know what it is. Is there anything in there that needs answering?
No, you're good.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to look for something to make with the chicken that I've got in the cupboard. And you can see that my filters are automatically set up because you can save your filters. So this one at the moment is including any of these things, but it's in English, but I'm only looking at the Australian one. And you know what? I really like the UK Thermomix recipes. So I'm going to include that one in there. And what you can do is you can go through, well, that's a lot of recipes to go through. So I want to filter it down. I really don't want to do any soups, so I'm not going to include that. But I do want some pasta in there. I'm happy with the main dishes. I don't want any fish dishes because I'm trying to cook chicken, but you may choose a fish dish and it includes chicken stock in it. So if you ever wonder why something comes up even though there's no chicken in it, or it may be suggested as a replacement. So I'm just going to have a look and see if there's anything else that I want. I'm happy with those categories. So you can see that that's now updated it with meat, pasta and rice, and it's still in English, and it's narrowed those results down. I'm going to filter it even more. So I am going to look down and go, I want the total time to be less than 45 minutes. Oh, let's see what that's done. That's taken those results down quite a bit. Chicken teriyaki, by the way, fabulous, nice, quick dish. Look at that, 20 minutes. That's a stunning dish to serve for your family. So I can then go, all right, I want to do this. I want to add it to my to try. Maybe I want to add it to my week, or I want to go straight to shopping list, or maybe I want to do my own variation. Maybe I want to do that, a beef teriyaki, and I'm going to add my own recipe. So literally to do that, or I might want to just cook it today and that'll chuck it straight on ready to cook on your Thermomix. But if I want to edit it, there you go. This will tell me this is a high heat one. So let's just exit out of that then anyway. But that's kind of the gist of how your filters work. You can go through and update things. So if you speak another language and you want to have that, those recipes come up. I'm using my laptop to scroll and it's been a bit stubborn for me. You can go through and see if you want to exclude anything. If you have a TM31 or a TM5, it's really important for you to pop those in here, and that way you won't get any steps that don't apply to the version that you have. If you have a TM6, you're free to go, and those recipes will all be suitable for you. All right, so have we got any other questions before we sign off for tonight?
Feel free to come off mute or pop it on the chat.
Oh, going to make brandy custard. Love it. All right, that was a little while ago. She's gone and made brandy custard. Beautiful. All right. Well,
I'm going to go and eat some brandy custard.
Yeah, well, I'm going to check on my brioche. It's looking all right. I can see we lost a cherry off the side. What have you got? Oh, Beck's already eating her cream
she's got berries. She's got no beetroot salad left.
Is it gone already?
I hope she's got a photo.
I'm trying to lip read.
Yeah, same.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact us. Or who was that?
That was me. I said, duh, cleaning. I'm off mute now.
She's cleaning a bowl.
Well, I'm glad we stopped for that.
Thanks
so
guys.
much for
Thanks,
joining
Jenny.
us, everyone.
Thanks, Vic. Bye.
Thanks, girls.
Have a fantastic festive season. Thanks, Marilyn. Whoop, the dogs decided to.
I'll love you and leave yous, ladies.
We have to get a photo. We have to get a photo.
Oh yes, no, you won't.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Christmas photo. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.